The American road trip is a dream for millions. Freedom, adventure, the open highway. But that dream can turn into a nightmare in seconds. In 2024, the United States saw 14.2 traffic-related deaths per 100,000 people. Worse than Japan, UK, and even Venezuela or Turkmenistan. Why are America's roads so deadly? Buckle up and let's find out. Number 50. In January of 2022, southbound traffic on I-405 suddenly stopped near Long Beach. A big rig tipped over, spilling fuel across the highway. Within minutes, the freeway was paralyzed. No movement and thousands of drivers stuck. The 72 miles from Sylmar to Irving carries so much traffic that even minor accidents turn into region-wide shutdowns. Gridlock isn't an exception here, it's the default setting. And if congestion is danger turned up to 11, the next road proves that the opposite extreme can be just as deadly. Number 49. Route 11 in Alaska isn't dangerous because it's busy. It's dangerous because it's lonely. Stretching 414 miles, it's one of only 2 highways that go above the Arctic Circle. If your car fails here, the cold might get to you before help does. In June of 2019, a truck went off the road and into a rollover north of Fairbanks. 2,000 gallons of fuel spilled across the tundra. The driver died before responders could reach him. And accidents like this aren't rare. They happen more than they should. Out here, the road is unforgiving. But emptiness isn't the only way a highway can kill you. Sometimes the danger creeps in quietly. Number 48. Route 83 from North Dakota to Texas doesn't look dangerous, and that's the problem. Running almost 1,900 miles, long sections blur into straight lines and endless horizons. And that's when Judgement slips. In May of 2025, a Chevy was driving south in the northbound lanes. It struck a Ford pickup truck head-on. The Chevy's driver was killed. 2 others were seriously injured. And if Route 83 lulls you into a trance, the next highway snaps you awake with weather that has no business being there. Number 47. Most of the 150 miles of I-40 west of Albuquerque is deteriorating fast. A small population means slow repairs, and it's drivers who pay the price. On January 10, 2024, snow and ice triggered a chain reaction near Cuervo. At least 30 cars slammed into each other. 1 person died. Several others were injured. But if desert roulette feels risky, the next road adds something even more unsettling: the ground itself. Number 46, State Road 138 doesn't look so bad. It's only about 105 miles, but it's uncomfortably close to the San Andreas Fault, and that's just the start. The road is plagued by narrow lanes, irregular improvements, and dangerous crossings. Small mistakes here quickly escalate. In 2003, a pickup veered out of control. The driver was unlicensed. The truck plunged into the California aqueduct. 4 people died. The driver survived, but he was paralyzed. Investigators later found that proper upgrades might have prevented it entirely. You don't need cliffs or ice to make a road deadly. Sometimes neglect is enough. Number 45. I-76 from New Jersey through Ohio. In October of 1983, a truck carrying 8,600 gallons of fuel crashed into a highway barrier and flipped. Gas flooded the highway, 3 cars burned, 2 people died. The fire department thought they had it under control, and then it reignited, injuring 2 firefighters and a reporter. This is I-76. It runs 436 miles, carries more than 163,000 vehicles a day, and is Pennsylvania's busiest highway. Locals call it the Schuylkill Expressway. Between 400 and 500 crashes happen here every year. On this road, bad luck is pretty routine. And if that sounds brutal, the next road proves you don't need length or traffic volume to rack up bodies. Number 44. 7 miles. That's all Interstate 676 gets. But crashes happen so often, the local news barely covers it. In March of 2021, a driver heading south entered the northbound lane. It ended in a head-on crash at milepost 0.4. 2 drivers were killed, 3 more injured, and the highway was shut down for 5 hours. And if 676 feels like a violent shortcut, the next highway takes that energy and stretches it across an entire state. Number 43. US Route 62 does something unusual. It connects Mexico to Canada. But Kentucky's 391 miles from Maysville to Cairo is where it gets deadly. Narrow lanes, sharp curves, missing guardrails. From 2008 to 2017, 124 people died here. Another 36 followed between 2019 to 2021. In July of 2025, a semi-truck rolled over in McCracken County. Debris was left strewn across the road, traffic ground to a halt. No guardrails, no room to move it. But if worn-out roads scare you, the next highway multiplies the danger by adding something heavier and much faster. Number 42. I-81 from New York to Tennessee is America's supply chain. Running 855 miles from the Canadian border down to Tennessee, this road carries a lot of trucks, up to 40% of the traffic in some parts, which makes crashes far more severe. In October of 2025, police responded to a routine pileup in Broome County, New York, but they were wrong. A U-Haul towing a car was sideswiped by an SUV, slammed into a New York DOT attenuator truck, and trapped the driver inside. Emergency crews had to scramble to rescue him, and he survived. And if heavy truck chaos feels dangerous, the next road adds mountains, blind curves, and livestock that doesn't respect the speed limits. Number 41. The van never stood a chance. On October 5th, 2023, a van with 14 occupants collided with a semi-truck. A third vehicle smashed into the wreck seconds later. 3 people died, 11 were airlifted to the hospital. It was made worse because some of the passengers weren't wearing seatbelts. This happened on US Route 89, Utah's Killer Road. The 502-mile highway goes from Montpelier to Flagstaff. Uranium trucks still use parts of it. Overall, it's 2.4 to 7 times more dangerous than the national average. We've seen desert blizzards on I-40, hypnotic emptiness on Route 83, and truck-fueled chaos on I-81. And if you like this lethal road trip, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's the safest thing you'll do today. Anyway, this deadly tour doesn't stop. Number 40. The western end of I-90, America's longest interstate, climbs into the Cascades, crossing the Snoqualmie Pass towards Seattle. This is avalanche country. Snow falls fast and visibility can vanish in minutes. On December 30th, 2024, the eastbound lane near mile 47 had to be closed. Multiple cars spun out of control and collided. Traffic froze. Rescue crews had to fight through wild weather just to reach the wrecks. But if avalanches feel like nature showing off, the next highway proves you don't need snow to fall a very long way. Number 39. They call it the $1 Million Highway, a 25-mile strip of asphalt carved into the San Juan Mountains. Some parts are as narrow as 23 feet. One bad turn here doesn't mean a fender bender, it means plummeting hundreds of feet below. In August of 2025, a car slipped off the road, tumbling 300 feet down the mountainside, landing upside down in a river. 2 adults were killed. A young girl was the one who survived. Avalanches frequently close the road. Back in 2019, it was buried under 60 feet of snow, shutting it down for 3 months. And if falling off a mountain feels extreme, the next road shows how danger spreads even where traffic is supposed to flow smoothly. Number 38. I-25 runs nearly 1,100 miles from Wyoming to New Mexico. But the most dangerous part is at Raton Pass. It's almost 8,000 feet tall, high winds whip across the road, and the weather changes without warning. In November of 2022, multiple vehicles crashed at the Dry Creek exit near Denver. State lawmaker Faith Winter died in the crash. Several others were hurt. And if high-altitude chaos makes you uneasy, the next road proves emptiness can be just as unforgiving. Number 37. In 2019, a vehicle struck a gas main in Fallon, Nevada. 1 person died at the scene. Another was critically injured. The gas supply was cut and residents were warned to evacuate if they smelled sulfur. This happened along Nevada's stretch of Route 50. 409 miles of isolation, leading it to be called the loneliest road in America. Long distances between towns mean long response times, but swap silence for scenery and the danger doesn't disappear. It just changes shape. Number 36. California's Route 1 is famous for its views. It's also famous for its sharp drops. Stretching 656 miles from Leggett to Dana Point, the road clings to cliffs through Big Sur. There, the dangers pile up. In 2023, authorities discovered an SUV on a rocky ledge 250 feet below the road south of San Francisco. A doctor had driven his family off the cliff in an attempted murder-suicide. Remarkably, all 4 survived. From here on out, the roads stop being scenic backdrops and start becoming repeat offenders. Number 35. I-30 from Arkansas to Texas. In September of 2025, a dump truck rolled through a construction zone with its bed still raised. The second mistake was physics getting involved. The raised bed snagged a live utility wire and dragged it across I-30. Another truck hit the wire and was flung into a utility pole. 2 more trucks followed. One had the wire slice into it before anyone could react. Somehow, all 4 drivers survived. And if random disaster feels unsettling, the next road shows what happens when narrow design meets human error. Number 34. The Taconic State Parkway in New York. On July 26, 2009, a minivan was traveling south on the northbound lanes. Inside were the driver, her 2 kids, 3 nieces, and 3 other relatives. Moments later, it collided with an SUV. 8 people died. Only her young son survived. Alcohol was involved, but the Taconic State Park didn't help. The 104-mile parkway runs from I-90 to the Bronx River Parkway. It's narrow, winding, and saw over 2,000 crashes from 2012 to 2014 alone. If tight lanes keep your nerves frayed, the next road removes land entirely. Number 33. There's no shoulder on the Lake Pontchartrain Causeway. That means 24 miles of bridge suspended over open water with nowhere to pull over if something goes wrong. In 2015 alone, there were over 2,000 vehicle breakdowns and 178 accidents. But the most surreal accident didn't come from cars. In 1974, a tugboat operator fell asleep at the helm. His ship struck 4 empty barges, which rammed into the bridge supports. 2 people were killed, and the bridge shut down for hours. On the causeway, danger comes from above, below, and straight ahead. And if open water makes you uneasy, our next road proves tragedy can force change, but only after it's far too late. Number 32. For years, Maryland Route 404 stayed the same, and people kept dying. The 25-mile road saw repeated fatal crashes caused by narrow lanes and limited passing spots. In 2000, one collision claimed the life of a 10-month-old baby. 12 more people died between 2005 and 2014. Only after 17 years of campaigning did the road begin to change. The baby's mother, Mary Freeman, watched as the ribbon was cut and the most dangerous sections were widened into a 4-lane divided highway. But if delayed fixes are dangerous, the next road shows what happens when heavy freight never slows down. Number 31. I-44 in Oklahoma. 2 trucks slammed into each other and the highway vanished behind a wall of flames. That was the scene in March of 2025 when 2 trucks collided near Big Cabin. The Inferno tore through the wreckage, shutting down I-44 for most of the night. Twisted metal and fire crews meant traffic backed up for miles. The stretch of I-44 from St. Louis to Wichita Falls is the deadliest road in the Interstate. This isn't a fluke, it's pretty routine. We've gone from avalanche alleys in Washington to cliffside chaos in California to ice-slicked freight lanes in Oklahoma. Different terrain, same outcome. And the death trips just keep piling up. Number 30. There's no escape on the Overseas Highway. The 106.5 miles of the Overseas Highway connects the Florida Keys with 42 bridges, and they're killers. 20 people died on them in 2021 alone. On March 5th, 2018, near Isla Mirada, a truck carrying portable toilets rear-ended an SUV. The impact slammed the car into a tree. All 4 occupants died. One victim was so badly injured they couldn't be identified. On this road, there's no runoff, no buffer, and no second chances. And if open water amplifies mistakes, the next highway shows how isolation does the same thing on land. Number 29. U.S. Route 2 in Montana cuts 666 miles through Montana. Long, icy, and eerily calm. For most of the drive, it's just pine trees and sky on repeat. All it takes is one mistake and things can go horribly wrong. In 2023, near Coram, a lumber truck flipped. Cars behind had no warning and nowhere to go. 7 vehicles were wrecked. 2 people were dead and 4 more were hospitalized. On Route 2, the distance between mistakes is measured in seconds, but the distance to help is easily measured in miles. And if that kind of emptiness feels dangerous, the next road proves density can be just as lethal. Number 28. Illinois' longest road is also its deadliest. U.S. Route 45 goes 429 miles through Illinois to the Wisconsin border at Antioch. It averages 112 deaths for every 100 crashes, about 11 deaths a year. In November of 2025, a Buick struck a Jeep head-on when the vehicles crossed paths in opposite directions. 1 person was killed, 4 people were injured. The road was closed for hours. And if Route 45 brings high-speed terror to the party, I-70 keeps the danger steady. Number 27. In March of 2025, visibility on I-70 in Kansas dropped to 0. A dust storm swept across the road. Drivers hit the brakes, the vehicles behind didn't see them. 71 cars piled into each other. The road there was closed for over 24 hours. 8 people died. The 424 miles from Missouri to Colorado was named Kansas' most dangerous highway in 2024. There are 15.5 deaths a year on this road. But if dust storms are unpredictable, the next route shows how impatience can be just as deadly. Number 26. Route 41 in Indiana runs through what's known as the Crossroads of America, and that comes with consequences. The 280-mile stretch between Evansville to the Illinois border is littered with intersections, turn lanes, and extremely high speeds. In October of 2025, an SUV heading north crashed into another vehicle heading east. One was thrown through the window into a ditch. Both drivers survived, but had to be airlifted to a hospital with serious injuries. And Route 41 isn't done. It's got a whole lot of dangers further down the road. Number 25. US Route 41 doesn't kill because of one bad stretch. It kills because it never ends. With over 2,000 miles stretching from Michigan to Florida, this highway crosses every kind of driving environment possible. In Florida, in 2023, a speeding motorcycle collided with an SUV at an intersection. The crash caused a huge fire. The motorcyclist and all 4 women in the SUV returning from a bingo night were all killed. And if scale alone can rack up bodies, the next interstate proves neglect can do the same thing, even faster. Number 24. I-80 from New Jersey to California. Wildfire isn't usually part of New Jersey traffic reports, but in the summer of 2025, flames broke out near mile marker 41.6 in Morris County. A pickup truck and an SUV crashed. Both caught fire and the blaze spread. Emergency crews rushed to the scene before it could grow any further. With a staggering 2,900-mile span, I-80 is the second longest interstate highway in the country. It goes from New Jersey to San Francisco. You don't need mountains or fog to make a highway dangerous. Sometimes the road just kind of falls apart beneath you. Number 23. I-65 in Alabama. The rain came fast, and the cars never slowed down. Drivers found this out the hard way. In 2021, mile 138 near Greenville, Alabama, hydroplaning sent vehicles skidding across I-65. 17 vehicles piled up, 7 caught fire, 10 people died, 9 of them children. What happened? Hydroplaning. Cars lose control as water gathers on the road. This area is prone to it. The 887-mile-long interstate cuts through various states, but the 366-mile section in Alabama is the most dangerous. About 33 people die here every year. Jefferson County alone was called America's 20th most dangerous highway. And if rain turns deadly fast, the next road shows how intersections can do the same thing, even in sunshine. Number 22. US Route 17 runs over 1,200 miles, but South Carolina's section is where it really becomes dangerous. Busy intersections, red light jumpers, and constant truck traffic make certain junctions notorious. One intersection near Hollywood has seen 15 wrecks in just a few years. In November of 2025, an 18-wheeler ran a red light and hit an SUV. The driver was hospitalized. The road closed. And another stat to add to the list. What happens when you mix speeding drivers with hills, curves, and some of the South's busiest cities? You're about to find out. Number 21, I-40 makes its second appearance on this list, this time as North Carolina's deadliest road. The fatality rate is fueled by steep grades, sharp curves, hilly terrain, and speeding drivers. In early 2025, snow hit the notorious I-40-I-85 split. A tractor-trailer lost control and plowed into a passenger vehicle. That crash triggered at least 3 more multi-vehicle collisions. By the end, 53 cars were involved. Remarkably, there was only one fatality though. We've crossed open water bridges in Florida, blizzard country in Montana, and airport-fed freight chaos in Atlanta. And it gets a whole lot bumpier here on out. Number 20. I-15 from Montana to California was built to move people fast, and that's exactly what makes it deadly. Stretching nearly 1,400 miles from Montana to San Diego, this interstate turns wide-open deserts into racetracks. Speed is a constant factor for this road's fatality rate. In one incident, a BMW went over a concrete median and slammed straight into an oncoming car. All 4 passengers of the other car were killed instantly. And if speed turns highways into killing fields, the next road proves urban settings can do the same thing, just faster. Number 19. Nearly 1,600 miles, I-35 runs straight through the heart of America, from Minnesota to Texas. It cuts through Austin, Dallas, and San Antonio while also carrying non-stop freight between the US and Mexico. In February of 2021, Texas froze. Black ice formed across the road. One crash triggered another and another. 130 cars were piled up. 6 people died. Others were left with permanent brain and spinal injuries. And if ice turns cities into disaster zones, the next highway shows how fog does the same thing, with no warning at all. Number 18. In August of 2025, near Beaumont, Texas, dense fog meant visibility dropped to nothing. Cars kept going. A chain reaction began and didn't stop. More than 100 cars piled up across I-10. 2 people died. Over 80 were rushed to hospitals. The crash stretched more than a mile. I-10 racks up 877 miles from the borders with Louisiana and New Mexico. It had 585 deaths over 6 years. Heavy freight, long distances, and weather that turns invisible in seconds make this road unforgiving. And if fog blinds you, the next interstate proves sheer volume can crush you instead. Number 17, I-75 has seen almost everything, including one of the deadliest crashes in American history. Running almost 1,800 miles, the road goes from Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan to Miami Lakes, Florida. The highway combines Michigan winters with Florida speed. On December 11, 1990, a dense fog settled over a stretch of the road in Tennessee. There was a crash, then another, then 98 more. In the end, 12 people died and 42 were injured. I-75 hits you with everything from blizzards to Florida madness, but the next interstate proves things can get even worse. Number 16, I-95 never rests. Covering 1,900 miles long along the East Coast, it moves commuters, freight, and tourists. In 2019 alone, there were 284 deaths on the road. In December of 2025, near Richmond, Virginia, 3 crashes took place almost simultaneously. A tractor-trailer jackknifed and blocked the entire southbound road for 2.5 hours. Drivers were trapped for over 2 hours. And from here on out, the roads stop blending together. Each one earns its place, with numbers that don't lie. Number 15. Locals don't call it US Route 285. They call it Death Highway. The road is 846 miles long, and it cuts through oil fields and deserts. In 2017, 93 people died on the Texas portion of the route alone. In September of 2020, near Roswell, the entire road had to be shut down. Not because of a crash, but because visibility was so bad they thought one was inevitable. Even then, one still happened. Death Highway is ominous. However, the next road proves California can make congestion just as deadly. Number 14. In November of 2007, fog rolled across Route 99, and everything stopped. In just a few minutes, 2 people died and 41 suffered injuries as car after car plowed into each other. 108 vehicles in total, all packed together just before the morning rush. Route 99 runs 425 miles through California. Bottlenecks are common, and expansion is constantly delayed. From 2018 to 2022, an average of 89 people died here every year. If Route 99 doesn't slow you down, the next California highway proves that sometimes congestion alone is dangerous enough. Number 13. I-215 is short. That doesn't make it safe, though. The 55-mile-long route carries slow-moving traffic, trucks, and rising temperatures. In September of 2024, a Toyota Corolla suddenly lost control, slammed into a parked semi-truck, then crashed into another vehicle. Moments later, a Dodge Ram plowed into the wreckage. The Corolla's driver and 2 passengers were killed instantly. And if California traffic feels relentless, the next road proves Houston can outdo it with heavier equipment. Number 12. On May 8, 2024, a Mazda changed lanes on I-610 and clipped a big rig carrying a bulldozer. The driver lost control. The bulldozer broke free, crossed lanes, and rolled into oncoming traffic like a bowling ball. It took a concrete barrier to stop it. Dozens were injured. Only 1 person died, though, a number that feels low on a road carrying 300,000 vehicles a day. The next road proves speed alone can make even investigators targets. Number 11. Even the people responding to crashes aren't safe on I-240 in Memphis. I-240 loops around Memphis and is notorious for speeding. On January 13, 2025, 2 officers were investigating a hit-and-run when another vehicle slammed into the scene. The 2 officers were struck, but both survived, but only just. And once you cross into the top 10, the list stops being about bad roads and starts being about roads that kill at scale. Number 10. Jacksonville, Florida doesn't sit next to I-295, it's inside it. In February of 2023, starring the Florida Department of Transportation, a road ranger rear-ended a pickup truck. The pickup was shoved forward, straight into a concrete barrier. It flipped and plunged into the St. Johns River below. It wasn't a high-speed chase. It was a normal day that turned lethal in seconds. And if Florida chaos feels familiar, the next road proves Texas can match it, mile for mile. Number 9. On January 10, 2025, traffic slowed on San Antonio's I-410 Northeast Loop. A Jeep weaved through lanes and hit a Dodge 2500 with a steel bed. The impact punctured the vehicle and killed the passenger. 2 more vehicles were pulled into the wreck. Lanes were closed, traffic at a standstill, and it wasn't even rush hour. And if tight circles amplify danger, the next road shows how even tiny states aren't spared. Number 8. I-495 is only 11 miles long, and it connects I-95 at the Pennsylvania border to Newport. Despite its size, about 9.5 people die there every year. In October of 2024, a Tesla driver tried to pass other vehicles and clipped a truck. This triggered a knock-on effect where an SUV flipped into opposing traffic. No one died this time, but the scene looked like a disaster film. And if short roads can punch above their weight, the next one proves short can be lethal. Number 7. I-710 only stretches 23 miles, and it's still one of California's most punishing highways. Congestion is constant. Trucks move between ports and inland hubs. The weather turns quickly. On November 3, 2002, fog blanketed the area. A semi-truck driver struck the center divider. Then the pileups began. By the time it ended, 216 cars were wrecked, the biggest in California's history. More than 100 people were injured. And if California congestion feels overwhelming, the next road proves Atlanta can turn volume into a daily siege. Number 6. Atlanta does not slow down. I-285 makes sure of it. All 64 miles of this road carries over 2 million people every single day. On September 25, 2015, 2 tractor trailers didn't crash, they fell off an overpass onto the road below. Both landed upside down. Amazingly, nobody got hurt too badly. And now there are only 5 left, each one deadlier than the last. Number 5. This stretch of I-95 doesn't care how experienced you are. Between 2019 and 2023, the highway racked up 51 fatal accidents. And on April 14, 2025, 3 cars piled up on a street in Broward County. 10 people were hospitalized, including 2 children. Every lane shut down as responders worked the wreckage. And if Florida's flagship interstate feels dangerous, the next highway proves the threat doesn't always come from other drivers. Number 4. I-20 from Texas to South Carolina. On June 14th, 2025, the old Vaucluse Road Bridge in South Carolina collapsed into I-20 due to a fiery crash. One of the trucks involved was carrying 8,500 gallons of gasoline. Flames shot upward beneath the overpass as debris rained down. Thankfully, no one was seriously injured. Across its multi-state route, I-20 is one of the deadliest highways in America. We've seen Florida's weaving contests, Texas's mega loops, and Atlanta's blind turns, and the fatality rates are climbing fast as we head into the top 3. Number 3. I-5 is the backbone of the West Coast, nearly 1,400 miles from Washington to San Diego. On November 29, 1991, a desert storm swept across California's Central Valley near Coalinga. Visibility was non-existent. Vehicles plowed into each other, including multiple semi-trucks. When the dust finally settled, 17 people were dead. And if I-5's mix of fog, rain, and megacity traffic feels brutal, the next highway shows what happens when Texas decides to turn the danger dial all the way up. Number 2. I-45 doesn't surprise anymore. Running 285 miles from Dallas to Galveston, it killed around 260 people a year. On May 11, 2025, 2 pickup trucks collided near mile marker 157. One vehicle struck a guardrail, crossed a cable barrier, and slammed head-on into oncoming traffic. A fire raged. When it was extinguished, 5 people were dead. 1 was critically injured. On I-45, the question isn't if, it's when. And yet, even this doesn't take the crown. Number 1 is I-4 in Florida. I-4 is the deadliest road in America. In 2021, the 132-mile route saw 190 fatalities. On average, it racks up between 40 and 50 deaths a year. Fog, smoke from brush fires, tourist confusion, aggressive locals, everything stacks up all at once. In January of 2008, visibility dropped to 0. One crash happened, then another, and another. By the end, 70 vehicles were strewn over 15 miles. 4 people were dead, dozens more injured. First responders said they could hear cars crashing in the smoke before they could see them. That's why I-4 wins. Not because it looks dangerous, because it kills you before you see it coming. So remember, drive safely. On this road, there are no second chances. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you want to see more videos like this, then please consider subscribing and turn on notifications. It really does make a difference. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time on Map Pack.